Welcome to this edition of Believers Talk with Joe and Steve. We are your hosts. I'm Joe.
I'm Steve.
And we're here now to talk to you about wide receivers and cornerbacks.
Yep.
In a previous episode, we talked to you about what we think should happen to the quarterback position.
Yep.
Well, with the recent news with our wide receivers, both Thompson signing with Dallas
Yep.
and with Zay Jones.
Up in the air for next
Right.
year.
Right.
If he's going to be suspended.
Right.
He's not getting any charges pressed against him now.
Right.
So that's a good sign for him.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows what the league will say.
Exactly. What's that mean for the NFL? I mean, just because charges weren't pressed doesn't mean he won't be suspended. We've seen that multiple times now. But anyhow, that kind of leaves a question mark over wide receiver.
Yeah.
So what do we plan on doing there? Well, we have a couple names. They're still open in the free agency market. And also looking at the draft, we can give you a couple names there.
Yeah.
So.
But to start off, we under contract on a roster now.
Yep.
We have Kelvin Benjamin, Zay Jones, Rod Streeter, and then Brandon Riley, and Andre Holmes. Those are the 5 guys that are under contract right now for us. So to get into that, that's what we have.
That's the cover point.
Zay Jones is gone for even if it's a game. That's what we have. So we'll give you some options. To me, it's very slim picking, and I'm not a huge fan of this draft class at receiver. So you know, everybody. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the unfortunate part about Zay Jones' situation and just the Buffalo Bills situation in general, we're already so far into free agency that the big names have already been signed.
Yeah.
You know, so you look at the list of free agents still available, and it's not that great. But again, in Buffalo, we don't throw the ball that much, so we just need some serviceable guys to.
The other thing too is McCarron knows Benjamin.
Right.
That's a benefit, so maybe that gets Benjamin going a little bit. But
exactly.
We do need to add some depth there, whether it's through the draft or through free agency, and that's kind of where we need to get into. Like, you know, we can't spend a lot of money there.
Right. Exactly. We just can't. We don't have the cap. So some names that Steve and I were throwing around. Obviously, I think the first name to talk about is Bills wide receiver from last year, Jordan Matthews.
Yep.
Talk about him, right? He's still available, so.
Yeah. He would be a nice addition to bring back at a cheaper price now. Hopefully his price dropped a little bit because he probably want to sign a 1-year deal to prove it.
Yeah.
So maybe you get the best out of him.
Yeah.
Last year he was just banged up. I wasn't a huge fan of him.
No.
So, I mean, it would be nice to have him back because then he's kind of familiar, but it is a completely different offensive system. So it's not like he'd be coming back into the same thing. Other thing too is it's a different quarterback, so he'd have to learn a different quarterback, and if he would want to do that on a 1-year prove-it deal compared to trying to sign somewhere and be able to stick somewhere that he knows.
Right. If he signs somewhere for a long-term deal, well, it might not be as much money because of his injuries last year and everything. So maybe a 1-year prove-it deal, and we're seeing a lot of those in free agency this year. We're seeing a lot of 1-year prove-it deals, so maybe we can get him cheap for a 1-year prove-it deal.
Bean's been in that kind of business, the 1-year deals. He was last year and even this year. A lot of these players that we did sign are 1-year deals or they're 2-year deals, and you can kind of get out after the first year. So we haven't really been signing too much long-term.
Big contracts, right? So that's one big name that we really like, or that we can be okay with like for now.
One of the better options.
Exactly. Next one on the list for me would be a guy that we were interested in last year, who stiffed us for free crab cakes. Jerry Macklin. So I don't know if you would.
Yeah, I'd like to see Macklin come in. Him and McCoy are friends, so maybe that'll help out this time. He tried recruiting him last time, it didn't work, but Macklin would be nice because I think he can bring some speed too. He still has it. He would be, to me, probably the best option out there. So get him in, and it'd be a 1-year deal. It's not like you're going to sign him for a multi-year contract, but at least he's a serviceable vet that can play outside and inside if need be.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, even if we sign them, I believe the 1-year deal would be the max, maybe 2. Be bridge guys for next year when we have the money to go and spend and maybe pick up. I can't think off the top of my head who's in the 2019 free agency wide receiver class, but maybe there's some bigger names out there we can get as well. But I don't know if there's anyone else on this list that you like.
Kendall Wright. He played with Chicago last year, formerly of Tennessee. I like him. I mean, he's been up and down his whole career. His rookie year, I believe, in Tennessee, he had a nice year, and then it just dropped off and hasn't done much. whether it's been injuries or whatnot. Thought he would do a little more in Chicago last year, being like basically their only receiver with them releasing Thompson, and then they had Kevin White get injured like he usually does. But so you had Kendall Wright there, and he just didn't step up. Another really intriguing guy to me is Bryce Butler.
Yeah.
So that's somebody I would like to see, because he did have some good playing time in Dallas where he looked good. So
yeah, I was actually conversing with someone on YouTube, so please be sure to comment and we'll talk back and forth. But and Bryce Butler was one of the names that kind of came up that was like, hey, this is a guy who could really improve our depleted wide receiving core at this point.
And it's something that he should look into, because you're going to get more playing time in Buffalo with a receiving core the way it is now.
Right.
And he obviously, I don't think he's going to go back to Dallas.
No.
Because they signed Alan Hearns, which the Bills were reported to be in on, and Devontae Thompson. So, you know, if he goes back there, he might be like the fifth receiver, because they have Ryan Switzer and Cole Beasley. So. Yeah,
and they still have Dez, so for now. We don't know what's happening with that situation, but for now.
The way they're working their cap, I don't know how. It is what it is. Another guy who I like is Brandon Tate. Mostly special teams guy, but could be a slot receiver.
Yeah, and as I said in the previous video, with Thompson now being re-signed, I know I've previously said that I wouldn't want Tate back, but now with Thompson being signed, bringing Tate back would be a great addition to a team of younger guys and guys who haven't just been in Buffalo all that long. You know, Tate's been there a few years, so he can kind of show them the ropes a little bit. Like you said, it is a new offense, but just the city in general, and you know, getting to know the fan base and things like that, taking up that, you know.
And I always put the special teams, like, if you're a fourth or fifth receiver, you're playing special teams, and that's what I mostly categorize you in. And if you can make plays on offense, that's a bonus. So that's why I put him there. And Jeff Janis is kind of the same thing out of Green Bay. So he would be another guy I'd be interested in. There's also two receivers out of New Orleans. They're both restricted free agents. I don't know if they signed contenders or not. Brandon Coleman, who's a bigger guy, who I would like. He had a pretty good season last year. Was injured here and there. And then Willie Snead, which 2 years ago, Willie Snead was nice. And then last year, injuries, or I can't remember if he got suspended or not, but something just wasn't clicking with him. And
and that's the thing that everyone's always said about the Saints. They always they pick and choose their guys. You know, you have one receiver that's great 1 week or 1 year, and then next year there's nothing. So
they know how to find their receivers. You think about it, Marcus Colston, they undrafted, and he worked out how many years for him. So they figure out a good way to get the receivers the best out of their guys, and sometimes they change them and they trade away. Like Brandon Cooks, they traded him away. They figured out we don't need him.
And it helps to have Drew Brees too. You know, I mean, so let's get a quarterback like Drew Brees, and then we'll talk about all these wide receivers you want to make it look a little better.
A good quarterback makes your receivers better, your offensive line better, running back. It makes everything easier. So the better the player you have at quarterback, the better you're off. On offense. So. And
that kind of leads us into the draft. I mean, we can look down this list, which is, it's weird because as we talked about off camera, if we trade up for that quarterback, our draft pick capital is going to be a lot less than what it would be before. So I know, like, I've seen mock drafts, and a lot of mocks, they keep us where we're at. They don't try to do trades, and they have us picking up Calvin Ridley. Well, if we trade up, we're not going to have the draft space to pick up Calvin Ridley, and you're not that big of a fan anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin Ridley to me is the best receiver in the draft, but I'm not overly wowed by him. I think it's just this draft class is a receiver in general. I really don't like. So for us to waste a pick, I mean, if we're sitting at 22 and Ridley's there, okay, and we already have our quarterback, but you know, we would have to stay put at 12 there. Some other guys I like is DJ Chark. And
I can't say enough about DJ Chark, so I'll let you
DJ start. Moore out of Maryland. So I like those two guys that I would like to see skip in the second round. Chark would be more the speed guy.
Absolutely.
I would take him probably if I could in the second round over getting Ridley in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know who DJ Chark is, just turn on the Senior Bowl from this year, this past season, and he just lit it up. And that's the first I ever actually heard of him, because you look at LSU, they normally don't throw the ball all that much, you know, and we've seen it in the past with LSU wide receivers coming out. They're not as highly taunted as some of the other big receivers, right? And then they turn out to be good. Like, I mean, Odell, everyone knew about Odell, but like Jarvis Landry, you know, was really good. Dwayne Bowe, you know, and there's a couple more, so.
Yeah, I think he has some potential. Like I said, with the speed, I really like him. LSU runs the ball a lot, and
Yeah.
their big name on offense was Geis.
Right.
So, you know, he kind of got pushed to the back burner, and when you don't have a quarterback, that happens.
That's what happens. Yep, that's what happens. So yeah. So if you're interested in any of these guys, tell us a free agent name that we might have missed out on that you're interested in. That'd be interesting. And you go down this whole draft list. You know, you have Michael Gallup is a big name from Colorado State. I've watched some of him. I'm not again, like you said, the wide receiver class is meh.
Yeah, he's more of a big body receiver. He isn't going to get separation, and I just feel we already have those guys. We need somebody with the speed, and that's why I like Shark the best.
Yeah, and that's why I'll get to my guy as a Notre Dame fan. I really like St. Brown. I can never pronounce his first name. It's insane. So good luck with it. But St. Brown from Notre Dame, he's a real speed guy.
Okay.
I feel like he's really underrated in the draft just because of the QB situation in Notre Dame the past couple years.
Okay.
And I really like him, and he'd be someone you can get later.
Yeah, in the mid to late rounds.
Right.
That would help me out because I don't feel like any of these guys need to spend top picks on.
Exactly. Yeah, and then most of our top picks will probably be used on something else.
Yep.
Right. So
that's the big scenario that everything has to go off of. You know, if we do trade or if we don't. I would love to see us stay put, but I do want to see us get the right guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they think they need to move up to get that right guy, then go ahead and do it.
Right.
The quarterback draft is just so deep that
it's
really going through all the little things, and there's going to be some good players in there that drop, whether they're receiver, running back, defensive end, linebacker, or anything like that.
Yeah, and to be honest, even if we stay put, I think I still don't want to go wide receiver early. There's enough, like, the difference between, let's say, Ridley and someone else on the second sheet of this paper is not as big of a difference as some of the cornerbacks that we'll get to in the draft. You know, you got some really good cornerbacks, so that's going to kind of segue us into cornerbacks for Buffalo. As you mentioned in a previous video, and as most of you probably know, EJ Gaines signed with Cleveland, so he will not be coming back, so we need some help at corner. So I don't know if you want to start us off there as far as free agent corners.
Yeah, with the corners that we have are Tre'Davious White, Vontae Davis, Lafayette Pitts. So that's basically where we're at. We need to fill some holes. Sean Smith is a guy I like. I always liked when he played in Kansas City and he was playing in Oakland, but he's older and he'd be probably the outside guy. So then Vontae Davis would have to come inside. Jeremy Lane, the only reason I like him a little bit is because he plays his own defense from Seattle. So that would be kind of familiar to him than when he comes to Buffalo, if that would happen. A lot of these guys are a lot of older guys. Maybe Devon House from Green Bay. William Gay is older. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, as you're going down this list, you're looking at Jarrell Revis, Terrence Newman, you know, people who are much older. I mean, sure, you could say, oh, they have experience, and they might have a year or two left, but I mean, these guys, you just don't know. Yeah.
Another guy maybe we can connect to is Sterling Moore, who played for Bills. Was with the Saints. I believe he spent some time, I think it was just with the Saints, but they would know him from being in the NFC South, being in McDermott. Leonard Johnson would be the guy who I think is the most targeted for us here in free agency. Other than that, you have Aisha Jackson, who I've been up and down on his whole career, but there is not really much out there as far as cornerbacks to get, and it is a very deep cornerback draft. So that's why, I was talking about if we stay at 12 and then stay at 22 with that 22nd pick, even if Ridley's on the board, I say maybe go corner still there. Like you said, that cornerback is to me is actually more of a position in need than wide receiver still. And the other thing too is we did sign Vontae Davis, but it's only to a 1-year deal, so we have to fix that position again next year anyway. Build this year. I'm sure they have a plan for it, but it's just something we have to watch out. That still needs to be thought of for next year.
Absolutely. And as a run first offense, I'm not worried about too much about who wide receivers are on the outside. We have our main number one guy with Benjamin. You know, we have Charles Clay as a great receiving tight end. You know, even if he has to play a number 2, he did it in Miami for a couple years. And his numbers might look worse because of the person behind center for us these past couple years. But you don't know. So
that's another thing, like you said too. The quarterback position will benefit some of those other receivers.
Absolutely.
Because look what Garoppolo did in the 49ers. He changed that team around. So the quarterback play will benefit the receivers. I think that's why I'm on the same page with you as cornerback is more of a
Mhm.
pressing need because you have all these teams throwing,
Yeah.
and we are playing Tom Brady twice a
Right,
year.
exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely accurate. And you know that the Jets are getting a quarterback in the draft, so you
Yeah.
know they'll be throwing more. Miami, I don't know what their situation looks like right now. So.
yeah, they redid Tannehill's deal,
Yeah.
so it's a little harder for them to cut him
Yeah.
next year. So
Yeah. So we'll see.
they're looking for a quarterback supposedly. So
Mhm.
I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, like I think cornerback position.
Yeah.
I like Jackson
Mm-hmm.
out of Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
but he had an awful combine, and we did a review on that, and I was so disappointed in him. Alexander out of Louisville.
Right. Yeah, I really
He
like
probably-
him. That's my
yeah.
guy. I think.
I think he jumped over Jackson after
Mhm.
the combine for
Mhm.
me. A lot of people have the kid Ward from Ohio State,
Yeah.
which I'm up and down because the Ohio State corners haven't really
Right.
done too much in the NFL.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can't think of the last time we had an Iowa State corner actually pan out in the NFL.
yeah. I mean, I liked Antoine Winfield. He came from Ohio State, but you know how many years has that been?
Right,
So,
right. So it's been a little bit, but yeah. So those are a couple names. But again, same thing with cornerback as wide receiver. Tell us the guy that you like. Tell us who you wouldn't mind seeing filling in that slot position or going as our number 2 and having Monte Davis move to our slot. We're not even sure what's gonna happen. And maybe we sign Johnson as our slot, but we still need someone because Monte Davis, like you said, it's a 1-year deal. So we'll see what happens.
it'd be nice to groom that young guy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's all I have. I don't know if you have anything else to share. That's it. So from us at Believers Talk, again, if you love this kind of content, we do. This is what we're all about. Bills content. This is awesome. Just subscribe to this channel. We will keep you updated with breaking news. We'll come at you with our opinions, and we'll come at you with things happening in the draft, the season. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. So like or dislike this video. Subscribe to our channel. But till next time,
Go Bills.
go Bills.